Hello, welcome to Midwest Fantasy Football Week number 14, the last week of the regular season, and as you can tell, we're in a third location again. We are hanging out in Nick's basement right now. Aaron is busy hanging out with his daughter at a ballet recital thingy tonight, so he was unavailable, and Ricky has D&D, so she was not available either, so I had to drag him into it.
I was also confused because you said Aaron, which is,
Aaron with Aaron, sorry. Aaron has a ballet thing this evening. So,
Fancy.
All right, yes, fancy. So, starting off at the top here, this week's highest scoring and the biggest blowout actually were the same game. Will's Galactic Gibbs Gang putting up 178.4 to 89.6 for Back to Being a McBridesmaid by Tom. Anything you'd like to weigh in on this one right out of the gate?
I mean, this is just two people. This is just Josh Allen and Jamar Chase. And between the two of them, they had enough points to outscore Tom. So there wasn't a whole lot Tom could do to even, get his bench rostered. I mean, there's a couple extra points there, but...
Yeah, not 70.
Yeah.
Actually, 80, right? 88, something like that? Yeah, it's... Nearly doubled your score, right? 90 times 2 would be 180. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's
rough
also,
week for you, Tom, that's for sure.
It's also a tough break losing Brooks again after being gone the first, 7, 8 weeks? 10 weeks?
I think he got 2.5 games, and he's probably going to be out all of next season again. They were talking on the Dynasty subs about whether his career is over, and it's definitely a potential situation there. For Will, I only had the two guys highlighted as well. Definitely, Josh Allen with a career game. Only player in NFL history now with 3 rushing touchdowns and 3 passing touchdowns in the same game. Chase, just one of his normal games, 177 and 2 touchdowns. Easy peasy. Over for Tom. I had highlighted the Brooks injury, and then I also had highlighted the desperation of Nick Westbrook-Akine, having to try to throw him in there playing for the long touchdowns with only his 2 points.
And MVS.
A lot of desperation heaves. How was the bye weeks for you? Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 3 bye weeks and a guy in IR on bye weeks. So, not great. Not as bad as some teams. I went through and actually looked at that specifically this week to see who got dicked over by the Week 14 bye the worst. I don't know if you were the worst. We'll see when we get there. So, all right, moving on to the next matchup, which I have as Chris versus Brandon, because that's the closest matchup.
I got it.
Okay. He didn't want to do any prep to figure out any, so he's just going to be looking through them as we're going here. So Chris actually snagged a win this week, 137.4 over Brandon's blown call, 123.1. Anything you want to weigh in on to start with on this one?
I mean, obviously Jefferson and Isaac Garudo. Did I say that right? Garendo.
You went to Wisconsin. You should know this. Go Badgers, even though we suck.
Wisconsin hasn't been good in 10 years. Mm-hmm. And even that, it was questionable before then.
Yeah.
Chris's defense picked Chicago with a negative .22.
That'll be a theme this week. There was a lot of negative defenses. I had one. There was another couple of them. Yeah. Not great week for defenses this week. When you put up 45 points and 42 points and those types of games, that'll happen. Over on the other side for Brandon, the Jaden Reed play did not work out. Green Bay, 0 points. I don't think he even had a target. He just kind of was a thing. It's even worse when you look down at your bench because you have both Juwan Jennings with 28 points and Jalen Waddle with 20 points. Either of those would have been enough to get you the win this week. So that one sucks. However, best case scenario for you, it really would have only just mattered in seedings in the playoff because I won mine, so you weren't going to make the main playoff. So.
Also, I didn't realize this was a matchup of Green Bay quarterbacks, Rodgers versus Love.
Ah, nice. Rodgers takes the win here.
Yep.
I think they were playing a worse team, weren't they? Yeah, Miami. Miami doesn't have much of a defense.
It's optional.
Yeah, as evidenced by what Green Bay did to him last week. All right, next highest scoring game is the next one that we talk about. That's going to be Scott versus Lee. The Pocket Dogs, 148.7 over Lee's Cup My Balls. He's still looking at that one, so I'm going to highlight a couple of things that I identified here. One, I'm really glad that Scott is not making the main playoffs because his team is absolutely rolling right now and has been for a few weeks. As evidence, I've got 4 different highlights here, and we've got a 22, a 24, a 21, and an 19 for your starters. I mean, those are some big numbers, and that adds up fast. Led by Jared Goff and Rashad White. Rashad White, big game because of the Bucky Irving injury. That you will see that over on the other side here. Bucky Irving got hurt, only put up 2 points and change before they pulled him out of the game. And then talking about the defenses there, Lee's defense of the negative 3.22. Looking at Yahoo, the absolute worst that you can score for a defense is -4. So that is pretty terrible.
Ooh, looking over at Scott and Josh's team. Man, they had a stacked bench, too. They had Jordan Addison on the bench with 42 points.
Yeah, really glad he's not in the playoffs. Yeah, I didn't even catch that. That's a great catch. 78 points on the bench. Yeah, another bye week here. Not too bad for either of these teams. Yes, Scott was missing Nico Collins. A couple guys from Denver for Lee not in there, but doesn't matter. You're still going into the playoffs with the 1 seed. So, and Scotty B and Josh are sitting this one out. All right, next matchup is Aaron and me.
Got it.
All right, I got the win this week. Detective Pikachu, 142.6 over Aaron's cousin Subs Hurts Donut, 93.7.
Well, Russell Wilson didn't hurt you coming up off the waiver wire. I mean,
That's all I was looking for was a safe baseline.
I didn't know if there was any other better options, but even looking at your bench, I mean, you basically had the best lineup you could have had in. There wasn't too much else you could have done.
Yeah, I mean, I cycle through my bench spots. I mean, I had one of the guys who played in the early slot on there, and I cut him and picked up Kamani Vidal because I'm like, I'm not going to keep him next week. Vidal might, take a good spot if somebody gets hurt, so it was worth a shot. And I've already cut Kamani Vidal, so it's just I kind of cycle through those bench spots as long as they're not locked. So, anything for Aaron?
Aaron, I'm just looking at your team. Your running backs need some major help. You had Abdullah and Singletary, who were both glorified backups at this point as your 2 starters. And your bench didn't look like it had a whole lot of extra help there, so...
Yeah, he was one that was hurt by injuries and by the running backs. I mean, he's supposed to be starting Mostert and Hall. The Abdullah play is interesting because he had the Zamir White in there until like 11:59. He said, I think he said he sent a message to me at like 12:05. Like, I can't believe I actually got it swapped out. It was right at the wire, and he had to actually drop somebody to pick. I think he dropped Zamir White to pick up Devin Singletary. And it doesn't even matter now because the third string guy is now kind of, what the hell's that guy's name? Sincere.
Yeah, he's
Sincere something is his first name. He seems to be the guy that got all the carries this weekend. I'm sure he'll be a popular waiver wire pickup tomorrow. But yeah, neither of them really did much for him. Jalen Hurts had a good game, 24 points and change. For me, Puka Nacua, obviously a huge game, 45 points, and Devontae Adams with 25.9. The Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts thing here, I specifically called that out. I saw a stat on Reddit today that was talking about Saquon Barkley has been tackled on the 1 yard line 11 times this year, and 10 of those have been Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns.
Push.
Fuck you. Fortunately, it didn't matter. But still, Saquon Barkley would be doing so. He probably would be an MVP. Like, it's still going to be Josh Allen, right? Like, Josh Allen's going to be the MVP.
We'll talk about that later. Another thing to call out here: this is the 3rd negative defense we've seen.
Yeah, my defense sucked. It is what it is. So, all right, next matchup is Derek and Nick.
Woo!
This is the producing monster of Derek with 132.6 points over Nick's T-Bolden Girls, 110.8. Anything you'd like to weigh in on this matchup before I tear you apart?
That's fine. I knew I was going to lose this. I had a bunch of buys and people injured this week, so there was no coming back. I'm surprised it was even as close as it was.
Yeah, you were one of the ones that had the worst buy with 4 players on a buy this week.
And 2 people out.
And 2 people out, yeah. You didn't have a lot to work with there. No. Yeah. The interesting thing on this one is that you had Kenneth Walker out, and Zach Charbonnet did not get into the starting lineup, who put up 41.3 points over there for Derek.
Wow.
Decided not to plug him in. Yeah, over for Nick's squad, Tua had a pretty good week, 23.5 points. Khalil Shakur, 21.6. I was texting Nick early while that game was still going on. I'm like, okay, it looks like we're going to play each other, but you're going to be the 3 seed and I'm going to be the 6 seed. Well, he's like, I'm not eliminated yet. I still got a chance. And Shakur kept catching passes. And I'm like, oh, maybe he's going to catch up. And then it ended up in the matchup to the playoffs, we're going to be the 4 and the 5 seed, not the 3 and the 6. So ended up working out that way. Cole Kmet, kind of a whole lot of nothing there.
I don't know what I was thinking, trusting a Bears.
Yeah, the Bears, obviously. The Bears. For Derek, over on the other side, his running backs really strong. As we talked about, on his bench, he's got Charbonnet with 41 points. And in the starting lineup, Kyron Williams with 23.7 and Chase Brown with 24.1. 24.3.
He also had Tyreek Hill on his bench and not in the starting lineup.
I mean, I get that. Tyreek has been very inconsistent most of the year. And that offense has been hard to predict. Jonnu Smith has been the main guy in that this year. And the wide receivers have just, for the most part, have been kind of terrible. But it's not going to help him now. He got the win. He's not in the second deuce slot. So we'll see how things go for him. All right, next matchup is Ethan and Eric. That'd be the pretty good team. And what? Yep. All right, so Ethan's pretty good team put up 130. Or sorry, Ethan's pretty good team put up 130.3 over Eric's what? 88.6.
Just looking at this, I mean, even with your top 2 wide receivers, each putting up only 10 points, you still had a well-rounded offensive team effort, except for your flex was, I mean, it was 6 points. That's about it.
I mean, you could have taken this Chubba Hubbard 20.7 point down there, but, I mean, a lot of that probably has a lot to do with the fact that you thought Brooks was going to be back, probably cutting into that, and then he got hurt. So Chubba Hubbard, again, strong.
Probably a must start now. Going over to Eric. It's never good to see a 0 from your flex spot down there for Keenan Coleman.
Yeah, he actually ended up not even playing.
Oh.
He was inactive scratch. Did not get him out of your starting lineup in time. However, there was not a whole lot there on your bench, aka nothing. So there was nothing to play. So I kind of understand, opting to plug him in, especially when you already knew that you were going to be in the. Well, actually, no, didn't know you were going to be in the playoffs. You were right on that edge of. Or maybe he was. I think he was. There was only one spot left available after this week. So you already were in the playoffs. Didn't matter. Didn't make sense to cut him because you were like, I don't really care because I'm not going to play him next week and it won't matter. So, I had the Keon Coleman spot. And then over on the other side, the Niners showed up this week for Ethan finally.
They were playing the Bears.
22 points for Purdy and 24 points for George Kittle. Obviously, Garudo had a good game as well. San Francisco's defense, 13.4. Yeah.
I did not watch that game, but I enjoyed watching the score.
Yeah, I didn't see that game either, but it was on like highlights were on when I was watching Red Zone, and they talked about at halftime that the Niners had like 310 yards and the Bears had 4. That was both the most yards by a team so far this year in a single half and the least amount of yards by a single team this year. You want to talk about polar opposites in that one. Not great.
I enjoy Bears' demise. I don't even know his demise at this point.
I mean, it's the Bears. They can't be demised because they're already dead.
That's true.
Last matchup here is Trent and Drew. Drew's D minus pulling out a win here, 124.8 over Trent's Deucing and Laporta John with 107.
I mean, this is a matchup of the quarterbacks. Sam Darnold versus Joe Burrow. And honestly, I would not have expected Sam Darnold to come out on top, but I know the Vikings had a really good game. They were tied pretty close at halftime, and then I think Sam Darnold threw 4 touchdowns in the second half.
Second half? Okay, yeah.
He might have had 2 in the first. I don't remember. Looks like Josh Jacobs, steady workhorse for the Packers.
Love that.
Odunze and Tyrone Tracy Jr. both had good games.
Yep. Over for you called everything I was going to call out other than the Tyler Lockett goose egg. Healthy goose egg. Did not catch a single pass. Only one target. Looked like mostly Jackson Smith and Jigba and DK Metcalf this week for the offense over there. This is probably the biggest bye week game. I think we have 4 on the one side with or one IR spot. I guess 3 on one side and 4 on the other. A lot of dregs being thrown into the lineup here. Kind of filling with whatever you could find.
That happens.
That does. So thanks NFL for the Week 14 bye. Everybody seems to love that so much. I did have an update on the IDP bet. I was looking at that this week, and it actually looks like that matchup has really tightened up. I got to pull that up here on my phone quick. League, yeah. Like the current standings on that, I mean, Tom is out of it. He's still way behind.
I believe in you, Tom.
Tom, you're 116 points behind the lead. However, the top 3 teams are Scotty B, Scott M, and Aaron. Scott's in the first place. I'm 20.9 points behind him, and Aaron has now crept all the way back to only 33 points back total. So,
I mean, that seems like a tough sled because I think the average points are probably like 45 to 50.
Yeah, that seems to be one bad week, and it's easy enough to put up like 50 points. I mean, I think this week somebody put up 100 points. So. Yeah, it was a crazy week this week in the fantasy. I mean, if you get where you get a lot of the points in that league is by sacks, by picks, by turnovers, by touchdowns. I think is that right that somebody put up 100 points this week? I remember it being a bunch. Point changed. Yeah, Tom did. No, that's points back. Sorry. Yeah, this week was pretty consistent. Scott put up 20 points. Aaron put up 25 points. Tom put up 29 points, and then I had a really good week, even though I have Aiden Hutchinson, who's still injured, with 52 points. Ooh. So I had a good week. So closing that gap, trying to catch back up to Scotty B there for that one. We got, 3 weeks to go in that one? 15, 16, 17, 18. 4 weeks to go left in that one. All right, so we are done with the main recaps. Looking forward to playoff matchups. Playoffs? Talking about playoffs? First matchup, obviously, 3 versus 6 seed. That's Will's Galactic Gibbs Gang taking on Eric's Wood. Current projections on that, 118 to 110. Obviously, this is before lineups are set. There are certain things that people may want to swap around. Looking at benches, there's some wiggle room there. Talking about potentially getting Jalen Hurts in over Kyler Murray. Probably Kyler Murray. Over on the other side, probably it looks most likely with what you're going to run. So this is clearly look like it's going to favor that 3 seed right now. We'll see if that ends up. And Will is a 57% favorite if there's no other changes.
This is also going to swing heavily in Eric's favor for the noon games on Sunday. Looking at it, it looks like Will has a lot of later games. So don't be surprised if Eric jumps out to an early lead.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a bunch of noon games. Yeah. Obviously, and I the only thing I worry about with this one is that you got your Josh Allen and Jamar Chase. Will those two have such huge weeks again, or will defenses try to take away their scheme them out of it? Josh is going to play Detroit, so that's probably going to be a shootout. And then Jamar Chase versus Tennessee, which he should be able to run rampant against them.
Expect 307 touchdowns.
Over on the other side, I see Joe Mixon versus Miami. Miami got tortured by Josh Jacobs last week. So certainly some chance for some fireworks there as well. Do we have any overlap between either of these teams? Like the quarterback, so Buffalo quarterback. I don't see any Buffalo pass receivers over on the other side. Kyler Murray for Arizona. I don't see anybody over on the other side either. Oh, yeah, so you got Kyler Murray for Eric and James Conner for Will. So the passing versus the running. That'll be a pivotal matchup on this one as well. All right, next matchup is the 4 versus 5 matchup. Would you like to make any comments about this matchup? First off, would you like to wager wings on this matchup? Because
yes.
We bet wings on our earlier matchup, but there was no official we're going to bet wings like we always do. After I lost, of course, we always bet on wings.
We've bet on wings the last, 14 years? You thought that the year 15 was going to change?
I don't know.
I don't know. My team is off of buys. I think I stack up pretty well, but I'm actually not favored going into this. I don't know. You probably have a couple waiver claims in. I don't know if you do or not. But
one, but nothing that's going to affect this matchup.
I don't have any money left on waivers, so I can't pick anybody. I will have priority on picking anybody up.
I've got a waiver claim out for defense for next week, so
that's
not
fair.
for this week. So no, this is the match. This is the lineup I'm planning to run. The only thing that I might swap around depending on what matchups look like and what weather looks like is the Jake Ferguson versus Dalton Kincaid matchup. Right now, Ferguson is favored. Kincaid has been hurt for 3 weeks. I don't know that I want to plug him in off of the injury that quickly, although Buffalo has been kind of zinging the ball all over the damn place. So, and they're playing Detroit, so I'll have to look to see how they do against tight ends.
Yeah, the only thing that I might change is if Kenneth Walker is out again this week. That'd be that I have to shift up a couple running backs and put a wide receiver in my flex. But
Sure. Yeah, this will be an interesting matchup, that's for sure. I don't think there's a whole lot. I don't think there's a whole lot of overlap here. I know I don't have anybody for Washington, and I don't think you have anybody for Denver. Nope. Cool. Good luck to you, but not really. Fuck you.
good luck. I am rooting for literally anyone in the playoffs except for Eric. Everyone else will be a first-time champion except for Eric, so fuck that guy.
How many? Has he got 2?
I think he's got 3.
Fuck that guy. God
Right?
damn it. Will, right? That's who's Will playing him? Come on, Will. You gotta freaking figure out a way to knock him off.
I believe.
This is going to be hard to match up, so I'm just going to take care of this one because now we've got the 14 versus 7, which is not properly noted on the app because it's dumb and they won't let me put 8 teams in the loser bracket. So we've got the 14 versus the 7. This is the Deuce England Portageon versus Scott and Josh's Pocket Dogs. Trent with his 2 wins is a perfect time to snag a 3rd win here. Current projections is about 101 points. There's not even a projected for Scott because he's not in the playoff total. So I'm sure he's, what is that, 15, 29? It's a lot. There's nobody on his starting lineup that is less than 10 points.
Let me see if it's here.
I don't think that it is because he's not actually in a matchup. Looking at, he's got, for Scott, he's going to be running Jared Goff. Jared Goff to Sam Laporta. I mean, that's a potential there, whether Sam Laporta has a good game or not. We got Sam Darnold from Minnesota. I don't think that anybody on the other side is there. Yeah, no. So
I also just noticed that Scott is stacking 3 Tampa Bay players. He's got Mike Evans, Rashad White, and Kate Otten.
He doesn't have Kate Otten in. Does he have Kate Otten in the moment?
No, he's on the bench.
Okay. Yeah, he's got Jonnu Smith in there at the moment, so I'm sure he'll be. That looks like probably the lineup that he'll run with. In terms of total points between these two teams, it's almost 440 points average over 14 weeks. I mean, that's a pretty sizable chunk of points. That's like 30 points a week. You have to think that Scott's going to probably pull this one off, but we'll have to see.
I believe in you, Trent.
Yeah, Trent. I have already told both Trent. I have already told both Derek and Chris that I feel like one of them will be the Deuce. So,
put it on the board.
Did I say Derek? I did say Derek and Chris.
Yes.
Derek and Chris. Yeah, we told them at dinner on Saturday night that I felt like it was going to be one of those 2 guys. So, speaking of which, here's our 13 seed, Chris, the Minnesota fanboy, taking on Drew, also 7-7. Looking at 1,589 points versus this one's a little more like 200 point difference, so it's a little bit more manageable, but still clear overall over the course of the season. It's been a clear differentiator. For Chris, this is always a matchup of what is his stars going to do, right? He's built on one player having huge games. He's going to need a big game from Justin Jefferson or Marvin Harrison Jr. Isaac Garundo, maybe plugging him in there. He's going to have a good week.
He's out.
Garundo is out this week?
Yes, he has a high ankle sprain.
I didn't know that. Who the hell is going to play? Patrick Taylor?
Patrick Taylor Jr.
Former Packer.
He might be a senior. I don't remember, but there's another prefix at the end. Yes, he is going to be starting.
Yeah, he played for the Packers earlier this year. Yeah. He was on the practice squad. They cut him. Well, they didn't cut him. They tried to put him back on the practice squad, and San Francisco claimed him because that's what they do. Wow, I did not know that. I should put
Let me just double check. We'll see what this says. Misses another practice. Won't participate Tuesday in walkthroughs. It was a high ankle sprain is what I thought I saw.
That's not good. Yeah, so for Chris, we kind of talked about that. He's got hopefully some of those guys have. What is he going to plug in for running back behind it?
He does not have a whole lot.
Rashawn Johnson for the Bears. Love that Bears offense.
It's always good when you see 1% rostered.
Ouch. All right, over for Drew. Obviously, we've got Joe Burrow here. He's been throwing the ball all over the place as well. You've got Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft doubling down on the Packers. Hopefully, they'll bounce back from last week. Going to be a tougher-ish matchup against Seattle this week. Seattle won this last week against Arizona, and Arizona, I thought, had a pretty decent defense. Is that game at Seattle? Yes, it's at Seattle on Sunday Night Football. Boo.
Of course, because the Packers can't play a goddamn noon game.
No. Interesting wide receivers. That might be because of buys. Let's see. Deebo Samuel on the bench and Josh Downs on the bench.
I don't know
Likely,
if you start Deebo, though.
Oh, are you going to run Xavier Worthy into Mario Douglas?
Probably better than Deebo.
I mean, Demario Douglas is a 2% start, so it'll be interesting because that's the Deebo game is a Thursday night game. So whether you start him or whether you don't, obviously you'll choose the wrong answer. So
that is absolutely correct.
All right, next matchup is Tom versus Brandon. This is the 9 versus 12 matchup here. Right now, I think this matchup is one that the teams have not looked at their rosters yet. We currently have a 94-94 slugfest.
94-84.
Oh, that is an 84. Ooh, boy. Yeah, you can tell that Brooks is there. He has not been subbed out of that lineup yet.
Brandon also doesn't have a kicker currently.
Yeah, well, he does have a kicker. He's projected for 0. It's the guy he's the backup in the Niner. They're assuming Harrison Butker is going to come back this week.
Got it.
If Butker doesn't come back, obviously he's still going to be the kicker. Who knows if that'll be the case. Looking down at the bench, obviously, Tom's still got to put in Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin. Derrick Henry's going to be coming into the lineup here. There's definitely some talent there. Over on the other side, Juwan Jennings will probably make the lineup. Lamar Jackson will certainly be coming up. And then maybe Jalen Waddle. So this one's definitely going to be hard to predict based off of these numbers. Do you have a favorite of who you like better on this one?
Honestly, I'm looking at Brandon's team, and getting Lamar back is just a huge plus.
Yeah. I think I have to go with that, too. I think Brandon's in the better position here. Looking at Tom's running backs, obviously the Brooks injury hurts. Got Tank Bigsby is going to be one of your options you're going to be looking at. Bringing Derrick Henry in obviously is a strong starting option. But then the problem is okay, what do you do at wide receiver? You're running MVS and Westbrook-Ikine. You could sneak in Terry McLaurin and Mike Williams, but not elite options. They're both perfectly acceptable options, but not. Hey, there's the cat finally. Ricky was all like, "Hey, can the cat be in the video?" And we're waiting for the cat, waiting for the drama queen.
This is Oliver. I call him Chonk. He likes food.
That's not even the one I thought it was.
No, the little one's scared of loud noises. So
okay, well
she's hiding.
That's definitely not us. So, all right, last matchup here. We got the 11 versus the 10. We got Derek's producing monster and Aaron's cousin subs Hurts Donut. This is another one that I think Aaron probably has not set his lineup yet, knowing that he set his lineup at 11:59 on Sunday. Definitely he has not looked at this yet.
Plenty of time.
Yes. So, obviously with his 2 running backs both projected for 3 points.
That's all you need.
Yeah. The only downside is that his running backs on his bench only are projected for... I mean, Breece Hall's got 15 points. 15 points and 5 points. So that's a 16-point bump. So that'll put you back up like 112 to 118. So a little bit more manageable.
I don't know if Breece is supposed to be back. He's dealing with a knee injury.
Ouch.
So then you are very thin at wide receiver.
Running back, yeah.
Sorry, I'm distracted by a cat.
Yeah, he's rubbing against my leg. Got Tyreek Hill. I opted to put him in this week. Didn't play last week.
Mom's calling.
All right.
No, I'll call her back.
All right. So, yeah. Looking at this matchup, it'll be interesting to see. You got A.J. Brown, to see what he does. Kyron Williams and Chase Brown. Your running back for Derek. Running backs kind of carried you this week. Will they carry you again next week? Oh, boy. I think that is a good ending point. Anything you'd like to say to cap it off? Anybody would like to say go this week?
Good luck to everyone except for Eric.
Everybody except for Eric. I'm fine with that. So, All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week after
See
the
you
first week
guys.
of playoffs. Ooh, also a reminder, like I said in the email earlier today, rosters will lock after this week. Eliminated teams will get locked down as well. And then this is also the last week in which payouts happen. So the high score this week was Will. That's the last of the high score payouts. Next week in the playoffs, you do not make any money. So that's everything I've got. This was a long-ass video. We're almost at half an hour. So
Oh, oops. That's my bad.
see you next week, folks.